All right, we are live for another episode of the Blue Crocus Experience, and I'm joined today by Abel. Very excited to have you here today, man.
I'm very honored to be here with you, man.
Yeah, we were chatting quickly off air there, and we both watched each other's videos. This is our first time chatting, so it'll be fun to kind of unpack some stuff, both business, family wise. He was giving me some really quick Coles notes on, what's going on in his world, and he has a lot going on. 6 kids, that's crazy.
Just a little busy, man.
How old are they?
So our youngest is 4, and then our youngest is 4, our oldest is 18, but 3 of our 6 all have birthdays in March. So the 18 is going to be 19, the 15 is going to be 16, the 12 is going to be 13, and so it's an
That's
expensive
amazing.
month. Yeah.
Expensive month, crazy birthday parties. Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness. I thought 4 was a lot, although we're in like the crazy time too. So we've got 5, 5. No, he's still 4. He's 4.5. He's almost 5. 4, 3, 1, and 10 months.
Oh,
So
that's a fun age gap, compacted really
oh,
time.
it's almost like 3 birthdays in March. So, man, I'm
Yep.
I'm excited. If you could give, I wanted to dive into that because I can relate to the craziness of kids, but give people a little bit of a background. You were giving me a little bit of a background there. I know you did, cold calling. I think it was at one point, or like
Oh
the
yeah.
calls there. To take me way back, and then we'll
Sure.
kind of come to today.
So let's see, way back, start with family. For me, family is probably the most important thing, but we got married very young, got married at the age of 20. We started having kids, obviously, right away. But I've always been in sales, and my goal has always been to let my kids have the experience I had as a kid growing up, and that was having a stay-at-home mom. So
Mm.
thankfully, that's something that my wife wanted and she enjoyed doing. So I've always worked my tail off. I've always have my full-time job and then 1 to 2 part-time jobs. Just we live in California. It's a crazy place here and extremely expensive to live. So especially raising, kids at a young age, I was always hustling on the side, doing one thing or another. But my background is mainly in sales and marketing. Right before we opened this business, I was working at a wedding venue. So my family owns a wedding venue, and I was doing all the sales. So sales has pretty much been in my DNA, has always been there. But I'm sure, as you know, selling weddings during a pandemic is not the easiest thing to do. We did it, but still not the easiest thing to do. And so as the pandemic started to shut everything down, we started realizing, okay, well, we are going to need some more money to come into the house. Mainly, really what it came down to was my daughter's club soccer tuition was coming up. And I was like, okay, time to bring in a little bit of extra cash, and started researching what we could do to make some extra money. At the same time, I had also started a woodworking business, doing some stuff out of my garage. So I love
What kind of things were
woodworking.
you building?
Everything. I mean, everything from, barn doors to hutches to vanities to furniture pieces, beds, desks, whatever, you name it. I absolutely loved it. I actually spent like 10 grand on a credit card to, I told my wife, this is it. We're going to go
Buy
all
all the
in. We're going to
tools
buy all
and
the tools we need. I built like a perfect shop of everything that I wanted. And once I started building stuff for other people, I hated it. I absolutely lost all the joy in what I was doing. So I sold enough to make my money back. But this business and the woodworking and junk removal all really kind of started all at the same time. So I allowed the option to explore both really kind of flourish. I was working on something in the garage when I saw a TikTok talking about the top 10 best side hustles for during a pandemic. And one of those was dumpster rentals, and it was buying a trailer, renting it out, and you know the drill. So I was like, this is perfect. I ran inside, showed my wife, hey, what do you think? She's like, go for it. Why not? We had about $6,000 left in our savings. And so I took that, bought a $5,500 trailer. I had a truck that me and some buddies bought together, but the truck cost us $900, $950. So I was like, I can use that, rent this out once a week, and we got the money we need for soccer, and everything will be just fine. Little did I know, we were about a month in, and we were getting no calls for the dumpsters, and we were getting calls for junk removal. But I'll be honest, man, I was a very prideful man. And I was like, I am not going to go pick up your trash. I told my wife, I'm not going to go pick up people's trash and load it. I don't mind picking up my trailer and going and dumping it, but that's gross. And got a call one day, and I was like, you know what? Put the pride to the side. Let me go check it out. Let me go see what this is about. and watched a couple YouTube videos and went out, came home in about an hour and a half, and I made like $400. I'm like, okay, pause. We're rebranding everything. We're shifting everything. And we started doing junk removal. From there, I actually ended up in the hospital in December. So October we launched, November we switched over to junk removal, and December I ended up in the hospital with some heart issues. I was actually just in the hospital a couple of days ago again, but
Man,
I'm alive. We're here, so that's all that matters. But while I was in the hospital, my aunt who owns the venue called me and said, "Hey, you rest, take the month off, don't do anything, and rest. It's been a rough year, and we'll hit it again next year." So got discharged a couple of days later, and I was talking to my wife, and I said, "Hey, this is my opportunity. I can either rest the rest of the month and just kind of naturally heal, or I can do what I normally know what I do and just work my tail off and hustle." And so we jumped in, and we were just hustling nonstop. And a few weeks later, we're like, okay. I told my wife, I said, "I think I could do this." She's like, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah." Like, okay, let's do it. So I put my notice in, officially, launched the business legally in that January, and it's just grown like crazy since then.
that's amazing. Wow. I was gonna say you don't seem like the type of person that spends a whole lot of time watching TV.
I watch a lot of TV, but just to help me focus. So whenever I'm working, I have something playing in the background. I'm super ADD, get distracted by everything. So if I don't have
It like
something that I
drowns
can
everything out.
subconsciously, focus on, then I will, yeah. But
I
besides
love
that,
it.
no.
I love it. You've got some fans, my friend. We've
Do
got
I?
yeah, Michael Raleigh, Abel in the house,
Yes, sir.
Miguel
Michael's a good guy.
Nunez. I believe this is Gerardo pulling this one up. The big homie, that's Miguel again.
Nice.
Domingo Flores, Elias, and I missed who said that one, but yeah, you got some fans here, so this is cool. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys have
I
questions for
appreciate it.
Abel, looks like a lot of you guys know him as well, which is fun. But man, what a journey! What a journey! And so here you are now. You've got the kids. That soccer club membership breathing down your neck. It sounded like kind of spurred you into action.
100%, man. My parents really never were able to afford sports growing up as a kid, so I never asked to play any sports. And so when it came down to us having kids, I'm like, I want them doing everything. I don't care how I'm going to do it. I don't care how I'm going to figure out how to get the money. I want them in sports, going out there and expressing and figuring out how to fail and figuring out how to win. And so far, so good.
I love it. I love it. What would you do differently if you were to start again?
Start the business again.
Yeah.
Not much, honestly. I really look back at the path and how we started and the steps that we took and the risks that we made, and we really made them all at the right time. The one thing I go back on in our little over 3 years, and I look at the mistake that I made was actually last March, actually March 1st, a year ago today. I made probably a mistake that cost me roughly $200,000 to $250,000. And I allowed my fear of how bad last February was to dictate a decision, which you can probably relate to this. And I killed all my marketing. I canceled my SEO, I canceled my Google ads, I canceled my Yelp. And I told my wife, we're going to go 100% organic. We're going to hope the brand that we've built is going to sustain us. And in 6 months, we'll either be bankrupt or we'll be open. Thankfully, we made it, but I was doing some numbers not too long ago, and I realized if I would have just sucked it up and pushed through, I probably would have done another 200 to 250,000 last year. So that's the
That's
one thing I would go back and change.
that's super interesting. I appreciate you sharing that. The fear of those tight months can really grab you.
100%, man. Well, we actually, and you don't really ever hear people in this industry talk about this, but we lost money last February, and we didn't just lose a little bit of money. We lost around 20 grand. And as a small business owner, you work your tail off to bring in every dollar and save as much as you possibly can. But because the way we grew and we added on employees very early, we added on big payments early, all the right insurances, the workers' comp, the commercial auto, the 401k, everything, our operating expenses are extremely high. And one bad month can really hurt you. And last February was our worst month. we ever had. And all that money we had worked our tail off to save up, that we were planning on, okay, we can get a new truck, we can do this. It was gone just so we can keep our doors open, just so we can keep our house, keep our lights on. And
Yeah.
so
Keep the guys
big
paying,
mistake.
keep them around, keep insurance on. Yeah, exactly.
100%, man.
That's interesting. What I was going to lead to that next, so it's kind of a good segue. What has been the biggest source of leads? Because I've seen you're really good on social media. I want to get into that a little bit more. Like your business page is a great page to follow. If people aren't doing that, they should. But where do you see most leads come from?
I appreciate that, man. So most leads, of course, come from Google. Everything from, our organic presence is extremely strong. Thankfully, we made the investment in SEO very early on. And
Mm,
even though we killed it and we stopped putting into it, our presence is still there and still where it needs to be. Very happy with where our presence is at. Paid ads, of course, that's our biggest marketing expense. Google guarantee. Really, the way I look at marketing is it's like if you were fishing. If you're going to go out fishing and you take out one rod, one type of bait, one type of line, you're giving yourself the opportunity to catch one, maybe two different types of fish, right? But if it's your responsibility to go out fishing to provide for your family and feed your family that day, I'm going to take out as many possible rods as I can, as many different types of baits as I can, even if I got to pull a branch off a tree and tie some string onto it to make a fishing rod out of it. And I'm going to throw them all in the water and try to get as many possible fish to bite and get as many as I can that day. So if there's a form of marketing that's out there, we do everything we can to throw our fishing light out in the water and try to get customers. But to answer your question, the biggest is going to be our Google ads.
yeah, that makes sense. Do you do anything with Yelp?
We do. It's not my favorite. It's not our most profitable. It's realistically probably we break even on Yelp, if not maybe make a little bit on our Yelp. But we only do the Yelp phone calls. I don't do the Yelp messages. I'm not a fan of being shopped around by 50 different people. So we only do the phone calls. And I'm okay breaking even. Two reasons. One, it keeps our guys busy, keeps them on the road. But more importantly, well, not more importantly, and equally as important, we're gathering that customer data. So it gives us the opportunity to retarget them and make money on them.
That
3,
lifetime value.
6, exactly.
Yeah, I love it. I think I first bumped into you. Really, I'd seen you around, but I saw someone share your video on how to deal with telemarketers. Can you share with people that tip here in a few minutes?
Absolutely. So having a background of sales, background of telemarketing, I hate telemarketers. I hate making my phone ring. I was that person. But having that background, you get a lot of training on what the actual laws are, what you can do, what you can't do, what you shouldn't do, what the gray areas are. So let's talk Yelp specifically, because Yelp and Angie are probably the most notorious and the biggest. They're very aggressive. So step one, what you need to do, go to donotcall.org. It's the National Do Not Call Registry. Make sure it's the actual legitimate Do Not Call Registry, not some other site you're signing up for. It's free. You're going to go in. You're going to put your number in there, your email. Takes maybe 2 minutes to sign up at the most. From there, you'll get a confirmation email. Once you get that confirmation email, go ahead and click it and confirm. Once you click it, then it's active. Typically takes about 30 days for your number to actually make it through the registry. So what a telemarketing company is supposed to do is when they get their leads in, they get their list, they're supposed to scrub their numbers once a month, once every other week. So it runs all of their database through the National Do Not Call Registry. Any numbers in that database then get pulled from their system and they don't call it. So when Yelp calls, I stay calm. I don't get angry. I'm sure you've realized by now, the angrier you get, the more you yell, the more they're going to bug you. So I just say, hey, thanks for calling. What was your name? Get their name so they know that there's a connection there. I find out who they're calling from if it's not Yelp. Say, great. Just so you and I are on the same page, all of my calls are recorded. I know your calls are recorded as well. I keep a very tight log of everyone that calls me, where they call me from, who they're calling from, and what their name is. Our numbers are listed on the National Do Not Call Registry. So you and I both know it's illegal for you to be calling us right now. So I'm asking you once to go ahead and place me on your Do Not Call list. If I receive another call from you, at that point, I'll just forward everything over to my attorney and I'll let him handle it from there. It's something that I do often. I get $300 to $700 and you guys get to stop calling me. Do we understand each other? And they're like, yes, or they hang up. So at that point, they're scared. They know you're serious. They know you have all their information, their name. They know they've messed up, and you don't get any more calls.
I love it. I love it. And then what's the process with your attorney?
Just find a great local attorney. If you're here in Southern California, I got a great local business attorney. You just need to have the proof that you've signed up for or you've registered your number with the National Do Not Call Registry. And then I use CallRail. So every time someone calls me, I just tag it as spam, and then I'll add another tag for Yelp. So I can run a report, be like, here you go. Here's the days they called. Here's the call files. And he handles it from there.
I love it. I love it. Little side income as well as keeping your phones down a little bit.
I call it petty income, man. It's I deserve that.
The
Just for
double
being
entendre
bothered.
is
100%.
the double entendre is real. It's a little bit of petty cash, a little bit petty, and it
Yep.
yeah, I love it. I love it. So, what were you doing telemarketing? Were you telemarketing for the wedding business?
No. So everything. So taking it way back, my stepdad was a mortgage broker. So I was 15 years old, and they took me to the office to give me a job, and he handed me the phone book and said, start at A and start calling everyone, see if they want to refinance their house. And I hated it. It was horrible. It was mumbling, and it was the worst. So, but it really broke me out of my shell. The majority of my phone sales, though, has been in the education industry. So I used to work for an online university, and really what my job was to help those that were veterans and those that were in the military, teach them how to properly use their benefits to go towards their education. Most people in the military only focus on their GI Bill, which is great. But while you're in the military active, there's something called your tuition assistance. And that at that time gave them $250. Yeah, $250 per credit towards their education. So they're able to essentially kind of double dip. They could get their education paid for while they were active, and they can also use their GI Bill when they were done, or transfer that to their kids.
Interesting. So you were basically just reminding what did you get in the as or what, like where was the money being taken to fund your calling?
So with it being an educational program, there was no like uh, commission or anything like that allowed. It was very strict. The way they had it structured is you had your set hourly rate, and your hourly rate the next month would fluctuate based off of how many students you enrolled. So we were admissions advisors, but the motivation was that our pay could be as low as $16 an hour or as high as $41 an hour. So just kind of a swing based off of your enrollment.
Commission, just never know what you're going to be making. I like it.
100%.
I like it. Now you mentioned recently as well that you're introverted. You're doing some
Yeah.
pretty unintroverted things. Although I actually think some of the best salespeople are the ones that are introverted. But talk a little bit about that.
Man, I hate it, to be honest with you. It's something that I've always struggled with, even from a young age. Extremely introverted, social anxiety, and it's something that I've really had to force my way out of. Being in sales has definitely helped a lot of that. I could never do outside sales because of that reason, though. Just that anxiety that builds up before you walk in to meet someone new is extremely debilitating. But I got to the point where I realized that my family and my business needed me to be an extrovert. They needed me to push aside my fears and my stress and anxiety and push forward, because if I didn't, then who was going to build this brand? It wasn't going to be, the random people that you meet at different networking events, which, yeah, those are great people. They definitely help, but people need to associate your brand with a face. And fortunately, that face had to be mine. We weren't in a position to hire a full-time marketing person that was out there being our brand ambassador. So I had to take on that role. So over the last 3 years since we've opened this business, I've gone, I would say, night and day difference. No one believes that I'm an extrovert or that I'm an introvert. Everyone believes I'm an extrovert. But even to the point of when I go to networking meetings and I'm there talking with everyone, I have to go home, or I have to sit in my car for like an hour, man. I have to like completely decompress, because all of that like built up anxiety and like people drive me crazy. So
that's such a good example of the things that we want are on the other side of the things that we don't want to do, right?
100%.
How has that translated to, like, do you find that come out when you're making videos and whatnot?
Oh yeah. I mean, the videos is honestly, they were one of the hardest things to do in the beginning, but now it's one of the easiest things to do. Just because I've trained myself that it's it's quick. I've gotten over the fear of people watching our videos. I've gotten over the fear of people seeing me on camera. If you go back, or if I go back in my phone and find some old videos, it is super awkward. I'm just talking behind the camera, and it's, you can hear the hesitation. But there's a
But you
certain
started.
sense of, I started, right? And there's a freedom in it once you work through it all. And it's pretty cool to go back and see and hear how my voice was then to see where we are now. Starting the YouTube channel for us was really more of like that next step of like, okay, I'm going to really put myself out there and really kind of take that next step of breaking this anxiety and fear that I have. And whether people like it or don't like it, I don't really care. I'll go back and I'll be able to watch these videos with my kids in 10, 15 years and kind of show the growth of the business. I wish I would have done it sooner because the first 3 years were really crazy. But we're here now, and we'll be able to watch from here on.
I think everybody says that. I wish I had started sooner. Everybody that starts says they wish they'd started sooner. And I would encourage those listening, step through the fear. You
100%.
might not realize it, but I still get nervous sometimes getting on these podcasts.
Really?
Yeah. It's something that I know, well, one, I'm passionate about, moving the industry forward and bringing, learning from people like you, but it also gets me out of my comfort zone. Some days it's fine. Like today, I wasn't too nervous, but some of them, just depending on the day and where I am, it hits me too. And you've got to get out. Like I actually just reposted it the other week, but my first live video was 4 years ago.
Wow.
And I was walking back from a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and the video, like my camera was down here, so you're looking up at my chin, and it's so awkward, and I didn't really know what to say, but it was a really cool moment because it was like, that's where I started. I'm here now. I'm not where I want to be, but I'll get there. And well, I think where you want to be continually moves, right? But
100%.
so much different than where I was 4 years ago. And in 4 years, I'll be so much different again. And it's stepping through. I really related to that, when you just said that fear of stepping through. And I do want listeners to take that. As a business owner, you are the face of your business. You are the person that people see. You're your best marketing tool. You've got something that no one else has. Abel has something that no one else has. I lean on the fact that I'm 6'8". There's different things that make us no one else. Well, actually, Ivan at the event, he's 6'7". He and I were chatting after because I saw him there. But it's each of us has an X factor, and lean into that. No one can be you, and no one really cares about you as much as you care about yourself. That's the honest truth. You see all the things that you mess up.
Yeah, absolutely. And no one will care about your business as much as you do. And so that path, you can hire, again, you can go out there and you can hire a brand ambassador and they'll go out there, but they're going to be with you for 6 months, a year, 2 years, maybe. Yeah. And then at that point, that person's gone and you have to step in and no one knows who you are. So you got to be the face.
You got to be the face. Yeah. And when I said no one cares about you as much as you do, it's like we think that everyone's looking at everything we're doing, waiting for us to trip up. But most of the time they're just looking and watching, and you do you, right? That's so interesting. So now I also saw on your page, I believe it was with the mayor recently. Talk about that.
Yes.
Because I love how you put yourself out there on YouTube. I didn't realize there was the introverted thing, so I wanted to dig into that. But there's also this community involvement that people do not get. Many people do not get. And the power of that and the compounding effect of that is insane. I don't even know the whole story yet, so I'm going to get you to tell that. But
sure.
Yeah, dive into that, and then I'll share some thoughts after, Jim.
Sure. So I'll take it a step before that. I would say one of the most important things you can do for your business is get out into the community. However that looks for you, that's better than nothing. So we do a ton in our community. We do a ton of community networking. I wish we could do more, honestly, but we're doing as much as we possibly can. We do every possible event that we can get ourselves into, from parades to school, trunk or treats. Anywhere that I can plaster this, we put it, whether it costs us money or it costs us time or it costs us a service, whatever it is, we're going to be out there. So one of the events that we host is a little local networking event called the Neighbors Monthly Mixer. This was a networking event that was put together. And what's really great about this event, it's really located in the middle of our service area, but you have all the local chambers and communities that support it. So it's an event that everyone comes to, which you said you've gone to chamber events. If anyone here hasn't, chamber events are great. They're great to get out there and get to know people. But typically, you're going to one, maybe two chambers, and you're getting to know those people. This event, we sponsored it because it brings together all the chambers. So it's a really great local spot. Now, this week, just so happened that the mayor of one of our local cities was there. And so during this event, we're able to get up as sponsors and say, hey, who we are, what we do, a little kind of intro. Before that, though, the mayor had an opportunity to go up there and just kind of talk about what the city was doing, some updates. She just so happened to be giving an update about illegal dumping fines. They were $100. Now they're $1,000. For commercial haulers, the dumping fines are going up to $10,000. So while she's up there, she's like, hey, by the way, I want to talk to you too. So afterwards, all of our friends that were in that room were like, oh, this is it, man. This is, exciting. So afterwards, we were able to talk, and I asked her, I said, hey, can we just step outside and can I just record a little video about what the updates are, what you're doing? We've been blessed out here, and we have a ton of competition in our area. And everyone says they have a ton of competition, but we truly have a ton of competition. We have 5 local franchises in our small service area, and our service area isn't huge. Our population is tiny, so it's pretty crazy to have 5 franchises. On a given month, we have 20 to 30 local guys. I would say 10 or so, 10 to 12 are actually consistent. The rest are the guys that come in and go. So, but we've been blessed with the opportunity to really network with all of our local competition, even some of the franchises. And so I wanted to put a video together, and in the conversation we had, I think it might've been off camera, is we were talking about what we could do and how she can help us with the state and bringing some regulation around our industry, right? Our industry is still a very new industry. Not many people know what junk removal is, or that's even an option out there. You see so much illegal dumping and so many fly-by-night companies coming and going because there's no regulation. Would regulation be a pain? Absolutely. But if we could get a contractor's license, a hauling permit, something in our industry that would allow us to be a little bit harder to break into, right? But allow us to bring more legitimacy to our industry, make sure everyone has the right insurances, it would only improve our industry and help cut down the amount of illegal dumping. It would raise the bar, raise the standard for what we're doing. So we had some really good conversations. We were talking about the franchise agreements, which is huge. Which was like, technically you can't do anything. I said, right, but why? It's a legal monopoly. And we were explaining the differences, because I had to fight with my local city here for about 18 months to get my business license. They gave it to me and then they retracted it.
Talk a bit about the franchise license, because not everybody knows the California side of things.
So franchise agreement is basically the trash hauler that has the contract with the city is the only one allowed to haul trash. And in our local city here, CR&R is the provider, and they have it so tight with the city in this agreement that the city is afraid to even give junk removal companies a business license. And the franchise agreement basically means that this company is the only company that can handle dumpsters, handle any sort of trash or waste removal. So we were talking and said, what can we do? How can we work around this? Not necessarily change the wording of the franchise agreements. And she said, well, let's get the city attorneys involved. Let's figure out what the differences are specifically and find a workaround the franchise agreement that makes it so that you guys can actually truly legally operate. So has anything happened since then? No, but the conversation has been started, and that's more than I can ask for.
That's huge. Yeah. And getting that, capturing that footage, putting it on your page, that provides legitimacy. That's so good for your brand.
Absolutely.
I definitely wanted to highlight that. What would you say for someone who is like, man, I just want, well, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek question, I guess, but I see so many people, they're just like, oh, my SEO provider or my agency isn't getting me leads from ads. What would you say to someone who's sitting there, but you actually want to kind of open their eyes to community involvement in some simple ways that they can start getting out and building their own thing, not just relying on agencies?
Agencies is just one of the many, many ways to get customers, right? You have everyone on YouTube saying, pump all your money into ads. And then you have the other end say, don't spend a dime on ads, right? In reality, neither one is right. Neither one is wrong. Their answers are right for them and their business. For me, it's a blend. You have to do a little bit of everything. You have to get out there. The biggest thing is building a brand. This name, I'm not a fan of this name because this name has landlocked us to where we are at. But I realize this is a brand that locally is becoming a very strong brand within the community. You could even Google out here black and yellow junk removal truck, and we pop up, right? So even down
That's
to
amazing.
the colors, right? We want to be a company that's for the community, not a company that's taking from the community. I strongly believe that if this community is supporting us, we have to support the community. And whatever that means, supporting the community means going out to a trunk or treat and giving out candy and hanging out with kids. The back end benefit of that is that your branding should be on point. We have our trucks there. We have our pop-up tent there that's all branded out. We have the opportunity to meet the parents. It's getting into the community parades. It's sponsoring local teams. We give away a lot, man, and more than I would ever want to talk about because I don't want to come off as a, but we give away a lot and we want to help our community in every possible way. And 9 out of 10 times what we give doesn't get posted about, doesn't get shared. If the organization or the person we're giving it to, post it, then we'll reshare it. But those 1 out of 10 times that people see what you're doing for the community just gives you more social proof in the community. And it lets everybody know that you're not just some random company. You're actually someone that cares for your community. And as you grow in business and as there's a little bit of extra more money available, it's one of my favorite things to do.
It's so fun. It's so gratifying. That's what we hit hard when we first started. The community kitchen, the Habitat for Humanity. We got a lot of jobs from Habitat for Humanity, actually. Cleaned out an entire wing of the university because they were like,
wow,
they want to give this to us, but we don't want any of those college dorm beds.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
But yeah, those communications can lead. It's people, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's people. There's people behind every organization, and those people get to know you. And the first thing they think of when they see something that needs your services is they think of you. And that's so powerful.
Absolutely.
So powerful. We had a few people really appreciate the telemarketing thing. Ryan's already signed up. Perfect. I believe Elias was saying that he was the one that shared it. I think he's right. I think you were the one that I had seen your telemarketing video originally. Great info on the telemarketing.
Elias is actually my my wife's cousin.
And, amazing.
Amazing. So we've had 2 family members that have worked with us who have been like, hold on, there's something here. So we were able to help them launch their businesses and get them going, and they're both doing great. So
amazing. Just had the kids go in the office. They're out.
You're fine, man. You're good.
But no, that's awesome. Matt's there. Elias, what's up, Lewis? Very cool. What would you say? That's so good info on the community involvement. It was my favorite part when we first started, and like you said, if you had more money and time, that's all you'd focus on, right? It's so gratifying.
It is
so gratifying, and it's so good for business too. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to do that because I don't want to seem hypocritical. There's a way you can do it to balance both, where you actually are helping people, and it's a win-win both ways.
Yep.
What are some other ways that you have gotten business? One of the things I talk about a lot on here that I love to hear people's opinions on is the more commercial side. Property managers, realtors, apartment complexes. Residential junk removal is the lifeblood of a lot of us, but the bigger jobs are where it's at.
Yeah, I'll be honest. That is my biggest struggle in our business. We are extremely residential heavy. I would say we're probably 90% residential heavy. The majority of the commercial clients we have, though, have come from connections, being out in the community, networking, going to chamber events, meeting different people. And it's typically not the person that we meet, but it's just building a relationship with someone that we met who ends up meeting someone that has an issue and they have no idea how to solve it, and they plug us in.
Yeah, I love it. I had John Aguirre on the podcast a few months ago. You may have met him at the mixer there.
John is a good friend, man. I love John.
I love it.
John,
he's got some
JunkCon.
Amazing. Yeah, he's got some really solid ideas for that as well. Candy jars is a big one that I took away from that, but amazing. So I kind of asked the question already, what would you do differently? What would you tell someone who is kind of struggling and in their, first, second year?
The biggest thing I would say is, are you building a side hustle or are you building a business? And really stop and evaluate what it is that you're building. Because if you're just building a business or you're building a side hustle, it's hard to build a side hustle because it's not consistent. People see that it's a side hustle, right? If you're building a business, then you need to reshape and rethink your mind, and you're not necessarily building a business, but you need to primarily focus on building a brand. From the beginning, when we started, we wanted to appear as this big company, right? I was still working, October, November, I was still out there working, and people would call and be like, hey, I need blah, blah, blah removed. And I'd be like, man, you know what? We're fully booked up today. I really have no extra room, but where are you located? And they tell me, I say, you know what? Here's what I'll do. My guy has to get off early, so I'll swing by, drop him off, but I should still have some room so I can swing by to you. I should be there somewhere between like 5:30 and 7:30, but we'll make sure to get you taken care of today. What that did was it did two things. It immediately validated for that person on the other line that we were a legitimate company that was going to be able to help them because we had this full schedule, right? We were packed for the day. Two, it let them know, oh, they have employees. So that's good. But three, and more importantly, it gave me the permission to go by myself and not need to go hire someone to go out there to do that job with me. So I would literally be commuting home. I'd get my commute home was like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. My wife would have a shirt for me in the car. I'd pull off my button up and my tie, throw it in the back seat, throw a t-shirt over, and I'd go to these houses in dress shoes, slacks, and a little shirt with our logo on it. But we built a brand from the beginning, and we presented ourselves as a larger company. And that really helped build this credibility or the social proof in the community with who we are. So if you're building a side hustle, I don't know, change it. If you're building a business, shift your focus a little bit and focus more on building a brand. And that's for us what's made the biggest difference.
Yeah, focus goes where or energy goes where your focus flows, I think is the saying. And if you're
There you
just
go.
focusing on it kind of, it's going to show. If you're focusing on it, as like, hey, this is the thing, that's going to show as well. And you can see that in the groups, various people at various stages. I'm not knocking anybody's point that they
Yep.
are. Some people just want a side hustle.
Right.
If you're
There's
building
nothing
it,
wrong with that, but
there isn't. No, there's
yeah,
good money in it as a side hustle, but you just need to know what you want and then build out that business. I love it. Abel, this has been fun.
it has.
Any final thoughts before we jump off?
I didn't realize you were so tall. I was at Andrew's event this past weekend and I saw the cutout. I'm like, that is a big cutout. And Andrew was like, yeah, he was very specific to make sure it was the right height. So I didn't realize you were so tall, man. But it's an honor to truly talk with you. A few months ago or a month ago, there was someone on one of the group chats that went out there to just kind of throw you under the bus and try to trash you. And in that post, I went in there and I commented about you and who you were. I've never met you. I had never talked to you, but I've seen the content you've put out. I see what you've done. And I've seen the impact that you've made in our industry in a pretty short amount of time, realistically. And I was able to tell just from everything that you've done, the type of man you were and the type of character that you had. And I knew whatever this guy was saying was BS. And so I was happy to jump on there and defend you and who you are. So just good job in what you've done and what you've created. And I appreciate the positive impact you're making in our industry.
Appreciate it, man. That means a lot. That means a lot. And yeah, to the cutout, I did. Andrew got it, set it up, and he sent me a screenshot with the tape measure. He's like, "Is this right?" I was like, "Yep." I got a custom built one, so it was like the real deal. So
Nice.
yeah, no, I appreciate those kind words, Abel. Appreciate you coming on, sharing the kind words here, and you make me sound better as an interviewer with that fantastic radio voice. So I love it. Well, guys, follow along with what Abel's doing. There's stuff to be learned there. I especially love the community aspect, and as we talked about earlier, the fact that he came from an introverted place, broke through that. I think that's something that we all struggle with in one form or another. I don't think most of us business owners wake up thinking, "Oh, I want to go out there and and talk to people
No.
about it." It's like, "Oh, I just want the money to come to me,"
Yep.
So get out there, work hard, know what you're building, build a brand. Abel, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Same here, Lewis. I appreciate it, man.
Stick around in the waiting room. I'll just end the stream here, guys. Till next time, tune in. Appreciate you guys showing up and showing Abel the love, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.